Now, should free school breakfast clubs be rolled out at every school? Today, the Education Secretary is announcing which schools will be part of her pilot scheme. And it seems like it's going to be quite a big commitment for the government. So I'll just show you what we're looking at so far. We'll get more details later. And here we go. Let's roll it. It's all about school breakfast clubs. And at the moment, if you look across the sort of panorama of pupils in our schools, yes, OK, fine, back this way. You'll find not very many are currently having school breakfast laid on by the school, a relatively small number. At the moment, outside London, very few pupils get a free breakfast. So what they want to do, here we are, this way, is make it so that many, many, many more do. 750 schools are in their sights. The announcement is expected today from Bridget Phillipson. Schools in England, she will identify them. You'll find out if it's your child's school. So what else do we know? Actually, it's quite sketchy. When does it start? We think from April, the pilot will affect 180,000 children. That's the first thing. Another blackboard here. How many of them will be underprivileged? Good question. 67,000 children will be in the most deprived areas. And by the way, it's possible that every child in the school will get the breakfast. Clubs will last 30 minutes each morning, and the school will get a little subsidy of 60p. There are steampunk blackboards for you. How about that, Marina? Because you're at the point where your kids will be engaging with all this.
Mm-hmm. So reading about this, initially I thought, OK, this is a really good thing. I personally think, the cost of living crisis we know has spiralled out of control. So many people are in deficits. Their outgoings are not covered by their salaries. And I think this is a nice way to address what is otherwise going to be a growing and growing inequality problem. Because if kids go to school and they are hungry, they cannot concentrate, that has long-term implications for them, which then affects society as a whole. We'll end up paying for it down the road. So I like that Labour are saying, hey, there's a problem, people are broke. And it's a good way to address a tiny portion of it. But that's the problem. It's addressing a tiny portion of it. And actually, if you look at this, I like the premise of it, but it's not going far enough. So the current funding is 60p per pupil per day. And what you've actually got is some schools who are invited to take part in the pilot have actually said, no, because I will lose money. Because at the moment, they are charging about £2.75, £3 a day, some schools, for pupils who attend breakfast schools. So they're actually saying, no, otherwise I'll have a shortfall. It's a bit like the nursery
schemes, where the government said there'll be nursery places for all. Yeah. And then the nurseries found that not enough money was provided, but the parents, the customers, had the expectation.
Yeah. I would say it's good that they're doing this in deprived areas. So for me, my kid, as I said, I'm looking at schools now for my 4-year-old. And when he goes, he will go to breakfast clubs because I need that wraparound care because my husband and I work full time. But that said, for me, I would happily pay for him to receive his breakfast. So a means testing, I think, maybe there should be means testing for this in the same way school meals are means tested outside.
Samuel, what do you think? Universal or means tested?
Yeah, look, the issue of universal support very often is that you end up not doing anything particularly well. So schools need more than 60 pence per student to be able to deliver this service in a way that's sustainable. But making it universal for me is just very ideological. Socialists are in charge and they want to find a way to make sure everybody does everything the same. And that's
really? Is that right?
100%. I think the challenge also is that £15 million is how much it's going to cost per annum is a hell of a lot of money from an education budget of just over 30 billion quid. And so there needs to be a better way to target the support. And in fact, you don't even have to over-engineer this. If you're claiming free school meals, but 1 in 4 young kids do, then they're the ones that should benefit from a good and sustainable breakfast in the morning.
Is it? But the argument for universal is you don't identify the poorer kids, which causes the stigma, doesn't it? You just say, look, breakfast for everybody.
Yeah, but then the kids whose parents work, like us, who still want to use wraparound care, can use the wraparound care. The exact same way as...
Yeah, but you'll have to pay for it.
Well, just like the kids who go and have free school meals also have the exact same lunch. There's not two queues during lunchtime.
By paying for it, you identify that you've got more money than the parents of that kid.
Yeah, but that's the exact same way when you go to have your school dinners. It's the same food, so it's fine, no issues. I don't see why that requires you to be stigmatised.
Let's go to Derek in North Hampshire. What do you think, Derek? Is this a good way to spend money?
Oh, good morning, everybody. Good to see you back, Jeremy.
Thanks, Derek. Thank you.
My thoughts on this are that whilst I appreciate that some children may be in need of a breakfast club meal, I don't think it needs to be provided to everyone. But the other thought I've had is that the government is perhaps thinking this is going to provide contracts for catering firms, and therefore they will benefit from it. And another thought is that, well, parents do receive.
Yes? Oh, Derek, he's literally never done that before, Derek. He's called many times. I think, Derek, can we diagnose that? I think that was a case of him muting himself.
Oh.
Because it was so brutal. Sorry, Derek, we got it all, but he left us hanging there. Parents do receive, I'm going to guess he's going to say other benefits.
Yeah.
And therefore they shouldn't need the state to provide a breakfast as well. Let me put that point to you.
I just think we've got the problem where, like I said before, they genuinely haven't. It's like, yes, I appreciate a bag of porridge oats doesn't cost a lot, but they're already in debt. They already don't have enough funds. Everything is going up. We just saw water go up again. Like, everything's going up and their salaries aren't.
Yeah. And the universal thing is interesting. In London, I hate mentioning London because it's not the country, but they have done this thing where they say they will now give a breakfast to every single child in every single primary school.
Yeah.
And they say it's working. I'm not sure what it's doing.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Well, I think what they say is they're getting better attendance and they're getting kids are more up for it in the mornings, particularly they can do their work. And also, crucially, you don't have the stigma issue where someone says, oh, you got a free school breakfast because your parents don't work.
Yeah, again, I don't believe in the stigma.
You don't think so?
No, because I think if you're claiming free school meals, an automatic opt-in into Breakfast Club is simple.
All right, Derek is back. I've got to see whether I guessed your point correctly, Derek. I thought you were going to say parents have benefits already.
Well, that's one of the points I've made, but I also think that the government is perhaps thinking about providing contracts, provide employment for catering firms.
We got that bit, yeah.
You got that bit?
Yeah, we got that bit. And then you said, and also parents, and then the line went. Why did the line go, Derek? Was it muted or something?
I don't know what happened.
It's never happened to you before. Well, listen,
No.
I hope you get it sorted. Thank you. Berenice, what a lovely name. Or is it Bernice?
Thank you very much. No, it's Berenice.
Berenice. How wonderful. In Gloucestershire. So what would you like to say?
I think the best bet would be to make for the government to provide boarding schools for all these children, and the parents won't have that responsibility. It's appalling that small babies are put into nursery care, and I think if parents had more benefits for them to stay at home, one parent, the whole system.
All right, I'm going to put you on to Marina, Berenice, because Marina is a working woman who doesn't want to have to stay at home.
Well, I think everyone should have the option. I had both of mine in nursery from, I think, 12 months or 13 months. So what are you saying about that, Berenice, that I shouldn't have done that?
No, what I'm saying is there was a couple on Radio 4 who were wanting more maternity and paternity leave. They shared it out, and at 17 weeks, they were able to put the baby into care. And I don't see any point in having a baby if you put it into care at 17 weeks. I mean, already schools are having to train children to use the toilet and having to nappy train them.
Yeah.
And there's something missing somewhere where parents need to be with their children, or if they're not with their children, have really responsible care.
The idea of state boarding schools, I suppose that's like orphanages, or you'd basically be saying, look, your work has made you an orphan. That's what you're saying. So you effectively, your parents are working so hard, you don't have parents, and the state will now bring you up. And that will end up with quite traumatised people in later life, won't it, Berenice? Seriously.
What you should just do is bring your kid to work on your shoulders into the office, like Musk did.
Berenice, don't we need people like Marina who are prepared to try and do everything, even though it's almost impossible, as we know?
I think it's very, very hard for people like Maria to do everything. This is the whole point. You have children, you make a commitment to them. I worked from home, I did all sorts of things and have been quite successful. But I think the kids are so important. They need that bonding with their parents, and to be put, into nursery from a very, very small age. And then in a lot of cases, the babies aren't potty trained, and then they go to school, and
Sure.
the school does that part of it. Where does it stop?
OK, Berenice, thank you so much. Carl in Buckinghamshire, hi.
Yeah, morning, Jerry. Morning, panel.
What do you think of breakfast clubs everywhere?
I think it's just a vanity project by the Labour government saying, oh, we're so kind and we can afford it. You can't afford it because the fact we've got this huge black hole you keep on banging about, and now you're spending money on breakfast clubs. And I reckon the parents are a little bit feckless, saying, OK, yeah, they'll feed you at school. I don't need to feed you. And then they close the door and go back to bed. So, no, it's just a vanity project by the present Labour government.
Let me bring in Ellen in Northumberland. Do you disagree with Carl, Ellen?
Yes, I do. I'm here to say that children do go hungry. I remember being absolutely famished when I was a child because there was no food, because our father was a gambler and there was never any money for anything.
Awful. Well, so a breakfast club would have helped you, would it? Because you can't gamble that away.
Certainly, oh yes, because when you're really hungry, you can't concentrate. You can't concentrate on lessons.
Well, Carl, what about that? That's a good point by Ellen.
Well, Ellen, I think you're talking about in the 60s or 70s there. It doesn't happen these days. There's tons of food around. There's food banks. If you can't go down to the food bank, I have a food bank on Wednesday and Saturday, and you can get food. No one's going hungry. So this premise of saying, oh, we're going hungry, we're poor, we were born underneath the motorway, well, that's rubbish.
OK. All right. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Ellen. Later it's the papers and everything else.